What up, my people, and welcome back to another episode of Loud AF. I am your host, Chad Ricardo. This, of course, our final episode before we hit the holiday season, Christmas right around the corner. So I'll say this again at the end of our session today, but I certainly want to wish you and yours a very special and happy holiday. I hope that you have an opportunity to spend time with family, spend time with loved ones, and truly take in the moment and take in the season. That's it right here on Loud AF. You can catch us each and every Saturday right now at 10:30 a.m. We're going to talk about all of the things that are going down in the sports world from the DMV and beyond. Today, I got an idea for an outstanding DMV High School playoff system. That's something that you want to tap into. We're going to talk about Travis Hunter and his fiance and whether she is the right woman for him or is there someone else who could be better, and not only for Travis, but for other athletes of all genders that are coming up as well. We're going to break into Mike Vick from the 757 being named the new head coach at Norfolk State University. But of course, today's conversation begins with the Washington Commanders. Commanders taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, playing host to the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday at Northwest Stadium. This is a big game. Some would say that this is the biggest game that has been hosted by a Washington football franchise in some 10, 15, even 20 to 25 years. And it's all going down with a kickoff at 1 p.m. You'll be able to watch that game, of course, right here on Fox 5. Washington Commanders 9-5, winners of 2 games in a row. They're taking on the Philadelphia Eagles that are arguably the hottest team in all of the NFL. They've won 10 games in a row themselves. They look like world beaters out there. Can we get it done? Well, before we talk more about this and how the Commanders get it done to some of those keys to victory, I had an opportunity to head on over to Ashburn to Commanders practice in my report earlier this week. Check it out.
Hey, talk about an early Christmas present for football fans this weekend. The 9-5 Washington Commanders playing host to the first-place Philadelphia Eagles. Of course, as we know, the Commanders lost to Philly 26-18 in Week 11. It was a game dominated by Saquon Barkley. Will it be any different this time around? Chad Ricardo is in the newsroom with some keys to victory here. Hey, Chad.
Jim, it is a huge game going down this Sunday at Northwest Stadium as the Washington Commanders are looking to avenge that November loss that came at the hands of the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, according to head coach Dan Quinn, the outcome of the rematch could come down to what his team learned from that first engagement.
You want to point out the things that you liked, and then, when you think about a game like this, when you're in any division game, what do you need to stop doing? What do you need to start doing, and what do you want to do the same? And so things, whether it might have been a scheme or a technique, hey, that's something we're not going to do. This is something we're going to add. And these other things, stay in that.
Now, the Commanders enter Sunday's matchup right in a 2-game win streak, including last Sunday's thrilling 1-point victory down in New Orleans. The Eagles, though, arguably the hottest team in the NFL. They've reeled off 10 consecutive victories, largely credited to the MVP-like season that Saquon Barkley is putting together. In the Eagles' 26-18 victory in Week 11 over Washington, Barkley put the game away late, accounting for 146 yards on the ground, including 2 touchdowns in that fourth quarter. Coach Quinn said that when it comes to slowing down a person of Saquon's quality, his squad will need to bring it all game long.
Like a lot of great players, he is at his best and has proven to be in the end of games. And so we have to make sure the fit and the tackling on the 5th run is the same on the 25th run. And you have to be able to just continue to do right longer than them, and they've proven this year that they're exceptional at staying at it.
That Commanders' defensive front could be getting a familiar face and some reinforcements back on the field soon. Defensive tackle John Allen has returned to practice and could be available for this playoff push. The Commanders host the Eagles Sunday at 1 p.m. Be sure to check out that action right here on Fox 5. And before the kick, tap in for the best darn Commanders pregame show in all of the nation with me, live with the people at Northwest Stadium from 11 to 1 on Fox Local.
And how about the best darn postgame coverage? Yeah, I'll have that after the game right here on Fox 5.
Again, 11 to 1 out there with the people at Northwest Stadium right here on Fox Local. tailgate, pregame special. We do things like no one else is doing around the country, coming directly to the people, not just talking at the people, coming directly with the people. We're going to have that for you 11 to 1 on Fox Local. And again, be sure to check out the game itself on Fox 5. We're going to talk about more in which of ways that you can check out that game as well before we close out here today. But let's talk about the game itself now. As we just talked about, these two teams met up in Week 11. At that point in time, it was a battle for first place. If you remember that correctly, the Commanders were 7-2 headed into Philadelphia on that Thursday night game. It was cold. We were up there with the people. Myself and shout out to my photojournalist, Ed Coker. We took the trip up there to the city of brotherly love. Now, here's what you got to keep in mind. The Washington Commanders lost that game, final score of 22-16, I believe that the final score was, but the Commanders entered that fourth quarter leading by a score of 10-6. They had shut down Saquon Barkley all game long. The offense was not getting it done, but they were doing just enough to be able to stay into the game. It wasn't until the fourth quarter that the Eagles did what they needed to do to break the back of the Commanders, and much of that came from that Eagles offensive line and Saquon Barkley breaking off two huge runs to get it done. I tell you that the difference in this game and the reason why the Washington Commanders are going to win this game is the reemergence of acquired defensive back Marshon Lattimore. Marshon Lattimore, we saw him get on the field for the first time last week in a Washington Commanders jersey. He played some 60 snaps or so, had 0 targets at him. They didn't even try to throw the ball at him. He had his receiver blanketed so much. Marshon Lattimore matching up with A.J. Brown here this weekend, a hobbled A.J. Brown who left last game with a bit of an ankle injury. Marshon Lattimore, I anticipate him taking A.J. Brown out of the game. So what does that mean? That means on the other side, someone who I say should be in the contention for the Defensive Rookie of the Year, even though he won't get consideration, but I say that he should. That's Mikey Sainristil, the rookie out of Michigan, who has played absolutely outstanding all season long, doing whatever the Commanders need for him to do. He's going to match up with Devontae Smith on that other side. And if Lattimore can hold down A.J. Brown, you take Mikey Sainristil with Devontae Smith, I think that he'll be able to play him equally. And if you can do that, then you can get the Eagles looking to look more like they did the prior week when everyone was questioning about whether Jalen Hurts was throwing the ball as well enough as opposed to last week where he threw for 290 yards. And Commanders defensive backs are going to slow down, maybe not shut down, but slow down that Eagles passing attack. And what that's going to do with those two defensive backs being able to do so one-on-one, it is going to allow the Commanders to, when necessary, stack that box and continue to slow down Saquon Barkley. As Dan Quinn said, not for one quarter, not for 2 or 3, but for all 4 quarters. It's going to be a heck of a lot of Bobby Wagner out there. You're going to get a heck of a lot of Frankie Louvu. And when Frankie Louvu runs wild on you, what are you going to do? I say that the Washington Commanders bottle up Saquon Barkley, force Jalen Hurts into a couple of turnovers, and ultimately, the Commanders walk away winners of this game. Put something on it. Jaden Daniels leads the Washington Commanders to a victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. That'll give them to 10-5. You have 2 games left over that. Atlanta with a young quarterback coming in here to Northwest Stadium. And then finally heading on out to Dallas for the final game of the year. This game right here is huge. With a victory here, it'll put the Commanders in position to potentially get to that 6th playoff spot. They're currently in the 7th slot. If the playoffs were to start today, these two teams would meet up again. It would be Commanders versus Philadelphia in Philly. And if I'm being honest, I don't think that that's the matchup that Commanders fans want to have. So win this game, potentially win out here, have a shot at that 6th playoff seed. And if you can do that, and instead of headed to Philly, maybe you're headed to a Tampa team that is beatable. You could be playing Tampa. You could be playing one of those other squads. You don't want to be playing Philly in that first week of the playoffs once we get there. So Washington Commanders use these tips, shut down on those outsides, bulk up on the run, continue to run the ball with Brian Robinson Jr., set up that play action. And my last thing about this right now, De'Ami Brown, 2 touchdowns. Put something on it. De'Ami Brown with a breakout game this week for the Washington Commanders. Everybody that's up there looking for those wagers and whatnot to take, remember, you heard that from me. De'Ami Brown, 2 touchdowns. All right. We'll get back to the Commanders and the Eagles as we close out the show, but I want to talk about a couple of other things right now, and that is Mike Vick, the former Philadelphia Eagles quarterback, now being named the new head coach of Norfolk State University. Now, this is something that means a lot to me. I am someone who is from the 757. For those of you that don't know, some would call that Southern Virginia. I don't think that we call it Southern Virginia very much, but Hampton, Newport News, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Portsmouth, Chesapeake. Maybe I said Suffolk. I might be missing a couple of them, but the 7 cities down there in the 757. Michael Vick is from Newport News. I'm from Hampton myself. Actually played against Mike Vick in high school. He was a standout at Warwick. I was a average guy on the Bethel High School football team. Our team would knock off Warwick High School each and every year, but Mike Vick was special. Of course, he went on to Virginia Tech, in which he set the world on fire, and then to the Atlanta Falcons, where he truly revolutionized the quarterback position in the NFL. Mike Vick then went on later in his career to revitalize his career and be that standout for the Philadelphia Eagles as well, leading that team to prominence when he came back. Well, Chad, where did he come back from? I want to be clear. I am a fan of Michael Vick. I am a fan of redemption stories. I am also a fan of telling the full story. I think that it is so great for Michael Vick to come back and lead young men at Norfolk State University in the 757, because Michael Vick is an example to not only those young men, but every young man in life, that you can be someone who reaches high heights, gets knocked down, and then has the wherewithal, the character to get back up again. We know that at the height of Michael Vick's career that he got involved in dogfighting. It ended up sending him to jail, and no matter how you feel about that, whether you believe that he deserved to go to jail, spend over a year of his life in jail, potentially lose his career for that, or you do or you don't, it did happen because he did break the law ultimately, and he spent over a year in jail. His career was in perils, and certainly his name was certainly in peril, and there's a lot of individuals who still feel that way about him. I'm not one of those individuals, but there are a lot who do, and I respect that. Michael Vick coming back to Norfolk State University now, again, lets everyone know that you can be someone who maybe earlier in your life, no matter what earlier is, for him it was in his 20s, but you can be someone who maybe earlier in your life did not have the decision-making abilities that could keep you where your talent took you. And so though that lack of decision-making abilities caused for him to take a step back. When Michael Vick was away, he had time to be able to think about that. He had time to be able to manifest in his brain the type of man that he wanted to be beyond a football player. So when he came back and he was given another chance, and he had earned another chance, Andy Reid, shout out to Andy Reid, giving him that other chance, he went to the Philadelphia Eagles, and not only did he light it up on the football field, but he was also someone who changed everything about himself in terms of the way that he went about life. Michael Vick became not only this great football player, but he also became a man, a role model that youth could follow. Beyond his dazzling 60-yard runs, beyond his cannon of an arm out there, and beyond everybody wearing those number 7, initially red and black Michael Vick jerseys, and then turning over to those green Michael Vick jerseys, beyond what he did on the football field, and kids and high school students saying that they wanted to be like Mike on the football field, he became a man that young people could follow as well. And so I believe that going back to the 757 and bringing all of his life experience with him, and being able to sit down in that locker room with these young men and saying, hey, number one, myself and my staff can teach you how to be a better football player, but we're also going to teach you how to be a better man. He can go on scouting and recruiting trips. He can sit down in living rooms with parents and say, hey, I've been everywhere that your son might want to be. I've been at the heights, and I've also been lower so I can teach your son not only how to reach those heights, but also how to avoid those lows. Michael Vick coming home as someone who is from the 757. I could not be happier or more thankful for this. Mike, welcome home, brother. I look forward to the day in which everyone from the 757, from the Mike Vicks to the Allen Iversons to the Ronald Currys to the Pharrells to the Alonzo Mournings to the Bruce Smiths to the Timberland and Magoo to the Missy Elliott's, where we all come together and truly uplift that community. And I think that Mike Vick coming home is the first step in doing that. So shout out, Mike. All right. Moving on from Mike Vick, I got to talk about this Travis Hunter situation with his fiance. Of course, Travis Hunter's fiance was all the rave for the last few weeks. I mean, let me count the ways. I think that it was, if we go in reverse order, we had the other day, there was an autograph signing. Travis was doing autographs and taking photos with people, and she was caught on a hot mic in which it appeared as though she asked Travis whether she had to be there all day. That's what it appeared, paraphrasing that she said. We go back to a couple of incidents after games in which she did not look very happy when her man had gone out there and put on the football field. She didn't look very happy when they were embracing each other after the ball games. We can take it a step further, in which in an interview she said that initially Travis Hunter was not her type. But now the questions are, well, why is he your type now? Because he's the best college football player in all of America. He's about to make millions of dollars. Is that why he's your type now? If he wasn't your type at first? There has been all of this flack around this young lady, and there have been calls from other individuals in the media to say, hey, Coach Prime, you got to get in there, bro. You got to tell this young man that he has got to get away from this woman because she's going to be bad for him. Well, if I'm being honest with you, when I was looking at those 5 to 10 second clips, I kind of felt the same way. And then the young lady put out her own video. She put out an 8-minute video. You can catch it on Instagram, TikTok, X, I'm sure as well, in which she kind of broke things down and said, hey, listen, what's happening here is that people are taking these clips of my life and they're putting them together, but the clips are so short that you're not getting the full picture of what it was that was going on, and I'm being painted in this way, and that's not actually who it is that I am. Now, I don't know this young lady. I don't know Travis Hunter either, but one thing that I do know is that in this social media gotcha world, that does happen often. And I think that any of us, that whether we're in the public light or not, we can fall victim to that. That is, someone takes their cell phone out, there's an entire incident, a whole situation going down, but if you cut that down to 5 to 7 seconds and put just that 5 to 7 seconds out on social media, you can have somebody looking crazy. And if they're looking crazy, you get views, you get that clout, and this person gets painted in a negative way. So I don't know this young lady, but what I do know is that there's a chance that that is the case. So we should not be so quick to judge, because that's what we do nowadays. We just judge people as quickly and as often as we can. We should not be so quick to judge without knowing the full circumstance and situation that's going down. And the second thing, you don't know Travis Hunter. I don't know Travis Hunter, so we probably should actually stay out of this young man's business. It ain't none of our damn business. We should stay out of his. But here's what I do want to say, though. I don't know Travis, but I do know a lot of the young student athletes who are right here in the DMV. I know a lot of the younger, I know a lot of the student athletes who started out young and had now are adults who are in the league right now. I had a young man by the name of Blake Corum who really comes to mind right here. Blake had an opportunity to watch him since he was in middle school. Of course, he went on to be a big-time student athlete at Pilates before he transferred to St. Francis, before he started at the University of Michigan. Would have won a Heisman had it not been for a knee injury. Now he made it to the league and he's playing in the NFL. And not to say that I know their entire story, but I do know that Blake met a young lady, I believe, while he was at the University of Michigan, an outstanding young lady at the point in time in which they had that relationship. And she seemed to truly be someone who was a partner for him, respectful of his grind. When Blake has come in here to Fox 5, she's been here supportive. She understood what it was that she was signing up for. And she has played that role, and Blake, in turn, gave that love, respect back to his young lady as well, the way that he should do. And I say all of that to say that no matter what field you're in, if you are someone who is looking to accomplish great things, if you are someone who is looking to do things that no one else that you know has ever been able to accomplish, the person that's on your arm matters. The person that's by your side matters. Because there's going to be so many sacrifices. There are going to be so many times in which you want to do something and be there for your family, but you just can't do it because you have to work. There's going to be so many times in which there are individuals that are pulling you from side to side to side, in which you just want to stay still, but that's not a possibility for you. And so in those moments, it is key that you have someone by your side that understands and is there to help you get beyond that, as opposed to saying, what about me? And I'm not saying that you should, disregard the feelings and the emotions of your loved ones, of your partners out there. That's not my point at all. But if you are someone who desires to do great things, make sure that the individual that is next to you understands what that ride is going to be like, and that they are comfortable in being in that position. Because wise man told me once, shout out to Steve Quinn, Football University, a wise man told me once that having the right wife can take you to the next level, but having the wrong partner can cause your entire ship to crash. Man, woman, boy, or girl, if you desire to do great things, make sure that you surround yourself with people who understand the journey and are prepared to walk step for step with you through that sand. There we go. All right. Final thing that we want to talk about right now, as we saw the college football playoffs kick off last night. Notre Dame looking outstanding as they knocked off Indiana. Indiana's head coach, of course, the previous head coach of my James Madison Dukes out there, left the Dukes to go to Indiana. Had a great year. Well, you know what, Kurt? You got knocked off last night by Coach Freeman and that Notre Dame squad. James Madison, go Dukes, who won their first bowl game ever. The JMU Dukes are on the rise. But that's not what we're talking about here. We got the college football playoff, 12 teams in there, getting it on, getting it done. We will name one national champion. I think that that's so cool. And for years, I have been advocating for a postseason DMV tournament, a postseason DMV-style tournament in the same way, because we often talk about who plays the best football in this area. Is it Northern Virginia? And right, for these purposes, we're going to just talk about Northern Virginia. So 757, Richmond, out there on the Western Virginia. I know you all will get upset, but we're just talking about Northern Virginia, D.C., or Maryland. Now, I'll tell you which one of those regions plays the best football, but that's not the point of this conversation right now. How cool would it be if we had this tournament? We'll call it 12 teams as well. I've got 6 of them right now. I got the first 6 teams right now. So after the Maryland plays their playoffs, that they're done. DC crowns their state champion, they're done. Virginia crowns their state champion, they're done. We put 12 teams in a bundle, and we just extend this thing a few more weeks. To all of the boosters out there, imagine how filled and packed your stadiums will be, all of the revenue that you can bring in to give back to your schools and to your community. It'll be outstanding. So just for starting this off here, let's start with these 6 teams. We'll start with these 6 teams. Representing Maryland, we'll have the Quince Orchard Cougars. Of course, they won the state championship this year, head coach John Kelly. We'll have the Wise Pumas. Steve Rapp, he and his squad will be the second team right there out of Maryland. In D.C., we could have the Dunbar Crimson Tide. They, of course, are led by Coach Bink and an outstanding staff. They are your D.C. state champions this year. And then we have Eastern. We'll say Eastern. I know. Big HD, they just threw up their hands. There's a couple of other squads out there that threw up their hands. Friendship, I know. But Coach Hunter, had I put you in there, then people would say, oh man, well, Friendship is technically a public charter. And I know I would advocate for you all being able to be in, because you're not a private school in the regard that these other teams are. I would say that Friendship could be there. But for right now, Coach Rome, because he's building something out there at Eastern, so putting Coach Rome in there. And by the way, this will end up being 12 teams. So Friendship, you and Coach Rome, both of you, Roosevelt, you can be in there as well. Coach Harden, we'll get you all in. In Virginia, we would include, of course, the Madison Warhawks, who are there in that state championship mix every single year. And whether you like it or not, in my 6-game series, Hayfield would be there as well. So you get all of these teams together. You go round robin, you play the Virginia, has to knock off the Virginia, the Maryland, the DC, the DC. And then when it comes down to it, Chad, who ends up winning this game? Well, as of right now, I would tell you that Quince Orchard, right now, would end up knocking off that Wise Puma squad. Coach Kelly, he told me prior to the year that they had an outstanding younger crop of student athletes that are on their way up. And so if teams didn't get them this year, then they would be in trouble. And that is not what other teams in Maryland want to hear. Shout out Coach Bucky Clipper, Northwest. You all would probably be in that mix as well there. I know that Broadneck, that they've been in the mix for a couple of years. 12 teams. That's fluid. It's fluid. But Quince Orchard would have to get the nod there. Coach Steve Rapp, I know in his first year leading his team to a state championship, those Wise Pumas are going to be back. Flowers, of course, they're going to be back. They made it to the state semis again. This is supposed to be a down year, and they made it to the state semis. So shout out to Coach P out there. I know that you guys will be back as well. We'll include all of you in our 12-game mix. But I think that ultimately, if we're talking about right now, Quince Orchard comes out of there. Out of D.C., again, we had Dunbar. We've got Eastern. Eastern, Coach Rome. Is there a more motivational, inspirational coach in all of America? I don't know. Coach Rome, I love you, brother. The Eastern Ramblers, they are on their way up. Again, we talk about Coach Mike Hunter and that Friendship squad who annually puts on a loss this year, though, to Coach Bink and the Dunbar Crimson Tide, who have brought Dunbar football back. So I say that Dunbar, as of right now, Dunbar makes it back out of that, but I think that in years to come that it would be Friendship. But Dunbar makes it out of that, right? They move on it, they advance. In Northern Virginia, because since I'm in control of this and not the people, Hayfield is in it. Madison, shout out Coach Counts, arguably the most coachable, most disciplined, most determined team in all of the DMV. The Madison Warhawks, I love this team. I love this program. I love everything that they do. Ultimately, though, Hayfield knocks them out. Hayfield advances. So if it comes down to it, Quince Orchard, they get a bye because they won the Maryland 4A state championship, and I'm just making this up, so this is how it goes. They get a bye. We got Hayfield versus Dunbar. Hayfield knocks off Dunbar in a highly competitive matchup. Dunbar puts up points on Hayfield, which didn't happen very often, but ultimately Hayfield, Jeff Overton Jr. end up winning that game. They advance to a matchup with Quince Orchard. We can play this game. The stands are going to be packed. Everybody's going to be out there checking it out, but ultimately, Quince Orchard versus Hayfield. This was all of the people who used to be at Freedom. You know that this was a dream matchup. Quince Orchard versus Hayfield. Ultimately, Quince Orchard knocks off Hayfield, and they would win our DMV Tri-State Championship. Put it on the books. We'll get 12 teams. We will make it happen. Remember that you heard it first right here on Loud AF. All right. We're going to get ready to get out of here right now. Again, a huge game going down this weekend. Washington Commanders taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Want to let everybody know that if you want to check out this game, you can certainly check out the Eagles versus the Commanders on Fox 5 and or on the Fox 5 Sports app as well. And then after the game, tune back in to Fox Local to watch our post-game coverage as well. So let me run back through this again. Commanders versus Eagles. It's going down this weekend. You want to check out that pre-game action tailgating from Northwest Stadium. Get that on Fox Local. You want to check out the game itself? Tune in at 1 o'clock to Fox 5, and or you can catch that on the Fox Sports app. And then post-game, come on back to Fox Local for the best darn post-game show with Jim Lokay and myself live from Northwest Stadium. That's how you watch the game. Commanders win. They raise hell, break the Eagles' 10-game winning streak, and move on to hopefully advance to that 6th seed in the playoffs. This is our last show, Loud AF, before the Christmas season. I said it at the top and I want to say it again. We wish each and every one of you a happy holidays, a Merry Christmas. Love your families, love your loved ones, and most importantly for today, thank you for tuning in and being loud AF with me. I'm Chad Ricardo. We'll see you next week.
It's what happened in the moments after Ryan Ruth allegedly ran off. Deputies found him going north on I-95 and stopped traffic going in both directions to make an arrest. During that time, a crash happened that seriously injured a 6-year-old girl.
That poor 6-year-old, we want to see justice for her.
That girl almost died.
When you couple those terrible injuries together with his other criminal conduct, which we believe rises to the level of domestic terrorism, it turns his actions into an attempted felony murder case.
And